Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Subscribe to this channel right now because the spring training news cycle just delivered 3 separate developments in the same window that together completely reshape how we need to think about the Blue Jays' starting rotation heading into opening day, and every single piece of it deserves the full breakdown treatment rather than a quick headline scroll. The Trey Savage situation has officially moved from speculation territory into confirmed organizational policy, and the specific details of how the Blue Jays plan to use him to start the season are simultaneously the smartest pitching management decision Ross Atkins has made this offseason and the clearest explanation yet for why this organization has been hoarding starting pitchers with what looked from the outside like compulsive excess. Dylan Cease went out in his first Blue Jays spring outing and averaged 97.4 miles per hour on his fastball while touching 98.9, numbers that were not expected this early in camp and that are generating the kind of excitement around his Cy Young Award potential that the most optimistic preseason projections were building toward. And Jose Berrios delivered 4 scoreless innings with his velocity back up to 93 miles per hour, answering the specific concern that his first spring start generated with a performance that points firmly in the right direction. 3 stories. All of them connected. All of them pointing toward a Blue Jays season that is setting up with more depth, more organizational intelligence, and more genuine championship potential than even the most enthusiastic preseason analysis fully captured. Let us start with Trey Savage because the new report from Ben Nicholson-Smith is the most consequential piece of information to emerge from Dunedin in days and deserves complete, careful, honest treatment. The details are specific and the organizational language surrounding them is explicit in a way that removes any remaining ambiguity about how the Blue Jays intend to manage their most exciting young pitcher in the early months of the 2026 season. The best-case scenario heading into opening day is Savage being ready to pitch 5 or more innings per start. John Schneider has confirmed that the organization will ramp him up deliberately throughout spring training, and if that deliberate ramp-up means he arrives at the start of the regular season capable of only 3 to 4 innings per outing, the Blue Jays are explicitly comfortable with that outcome. The plan is for him to build up at the major league level rather than AAA, which means he will be in the rotation from the beginning, but potentially in a piggyback or tandem arrangement rather than a traditional 5+ inning starting role. 3 to 4 innings from Savage, then Eric Lauer piggybacking. Or perhaps a different opener arrangement that protects his pitch count while still giving the lineup the benefit of his electric stuff early in games. The tactical flexibility available to John Schneider with this pitching depth is genuinely extraordinary, and it all flows from the organizational decision to prioritize Savage's long-term health over the short-term appeal of simply giving him the ball and letting him pitch until his arm tells him to stop. The reasoning behind this decision becomes even more compelling when you lay out exactly what Trey Savage's 2025 looked like from start to finish, because the full picture of his workload last year is the essential context that makes the management approach not just understandable but clearly necessary. He did not simply make a few late-season starts and then pitch in a couple of postseason games. He began last year in low A, progressed through high A, accumulated significant innings across multiple minor league levels, arrived at the major league level, made starts in the regular season stretch run, and then pitched in a World Series. Game 6 of the World Series, specifically, after traveling through an entire professional season that represented the longest and most demanding competitive stretch of his career to that point. The shortest offseason he will ever experience, unless this team goes back to Game 7 again, followed that extraordinary run. His arm went places it had never been asked to go before, sustained that effort across the most pressure-filled months of professional baseball, and is now being asked to prepare for another full major league season starting in late March. The Blue Jays know this. They know it better than any outside analyst or fan commentary can, because they have the specific medical data, the arm care metrics, and the direct communication with their player that informs real organizational decisions rather than public perception management. And their decision, informed by all of that information, is to protect the arm that is going to anchor this rotation for the next decade by being patient with his workload in April and May so that he can be fully unleashed when it matters most in September and October. This is not babying a pitcher. This is the opposite of the mistake the organization made with Alek Manoah. The specific lesson learned from watching a young ace get pushed past his sustainable limits and pay a price that stretched across multiple seasons. The organizational logic that connects the savage workload decision to every other roster move the Blue Jays have made this offseason is now fully visible in a way it was not before this report. Why did they hold onto Jose Berrios despite the contractual complexity and the performance questions surrounding his 2025 season? Because they knew Savage was going to need coverage in the early months. Why did they not trade Eric Lauer despite the arbitration tension and the public frustration about his role? Because a piggyback partner for a 3 to 4 inning Savage is exactly what Lauer is built to provide. Why did they sign Max Scherzer for $3 million on a deal structured with incentives? Because a veteran presence who can eat innings in late April and May while Savage is building toward full capacity is precisely the kind of insurance policy that makes a championship-caliber roster sustainable across a full season. Why are they carrying as many starting pitchers as they are? Because every single one of them serves a specific function in a construction that was always designed around the reality of managing Savage's workload rather than assuming his full availability from opening day forward. Ross Atkins did not build this roster with excess starting pitching because he lost his analytical mind during the offseason. He built it this way because he had information about how his best young pitcher was going to be used that made every additional arm not a luxury but a necessity. Now let us pivot to Dylan Cease, because the velocity numbers from his first spring outing deserve their proper celebration and their proper analytical context. 97.4 miles per hour average fastball velocity in his first spring training appearance. Touching 98.9. Coming out to start a game against major league hitters, including Bryce Harper, whom he blew a fastball by, and pumping 98+ on his first 2 pitches before touching 99 to the leadoff batter. In spring training. In his first outing. Before the competitive urgency of the regular season has arrived and before the full adrenaline of meaningful games has given him anything extra to draw on. These are not velocity numbers that suggest a pitcher getting loosened up and finding his feel for the spring. These are the velocity numbers of a pitcher who is already at or near his peak physical condition weeks before the season begins. The implications of what a fully locked-in Dylan Cease with consistent 97 to 99 fastball velocity adds to a rotation that already has Kevin Gausman at the top are almost too exciting to process responsibly. Gausman and Cease as a 1-2 punch is the kind of rotation foundation that division titles are built around. The deceptive release point that multiple observers have noted makes Cease's fastball play even harder than the velocity number suggests, combined with the swing-and-miss secondary stuff that makes him one of the most difficult starting pitchers in the American League on his best days, and you have a pitcher who genuinely belongs in the Cy Young conversation if he can maintain this level of stuff deep into the summer. Jose Berrios answered his critics in exactly the way a proud, experienced professional pitcher answers critics, by going out and performing. 4 scoreless innings in a split-squad Grapefruit League game. Velocity back to 93 miles per hour after the cold weather of his previous outing had suppressed it in a way that generated more concern than the situation probably warranted. 4 innings, no runs, velocity at his normal operating level. The specific conversation about whether his bicep tendon recovery had permanently affected what he can bring to a start is not over. One good spring training appearance does not close a question that his entire 2025 performance opened, but it is a significant and positive data point that points firmly in the direction of the full health narrative he has been presenting since camp began. A Berrios who is genuinely healthy and genuinely back to the level his pre-injury track record established is a legitimate third starter caliber arm in a rotation that needs every available quality option given what we now know about Savage's early season workload limitations. The broader spring training picture that assembles from all of this information, the Savage workload confirmation, the Cease velocity explosion, the Berrios scoreless outing, the ongoing development of depth pieces across the roster from Josh Kasvik to Jesus Sanchez to the organizational arms competing for the final spots, is one of a franchise operating with unusual organizational clarity about what it is building and why every individual decision connects to a larger competitive architecture. The Blue Jays are not carrying too many starting pitchers because they could not make trade decisions. They are carrying exactly as many starting pitchers as the specific reality of managing their best young ace responsibly requires. Every arm on this staff has a role. Every role connects to the larger picture. And the larger picture, as it assembles across these spring training weeks, looks increasingly like a championship-caliber organization that has learned from its developmental mistakes and is applying those lessons with the kind of disciplined patience that produces sustainable winning rather than exciting short-term results followed by devastating arm injuries and multi-year rebuilds. Drop your hottest takes in the comments right now. Are you fully comfortable with the 3 to 4 inning Savage plan for early in the season, or does part of you want to just let him loose and see what happens? Does Dylan Cease touching 99 in his first spring outing make you a Cy Young believer right now? And does Berrios' bounce-back performance change your expectations for what he contributes in 2026? Get every opinion into the comments immediately. Smash that like button because this daily coverage requires your engagement to reach every Blue Jays fan who needs to see it. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss a single development as this rotation picture continues to crystallize. And share this video with every Blue Jays fan in your orbit. The roster is deep. The plan is smart. And opening day cannot arrive fast enough.